In other developments, the International Air Transport Association's Focus African Conference 2023 kicked off yesterday in Addis Ababa. In his opening remark at the International Air Transport Association's Focus African Conference 2023 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia Airlines Group CEO Mesfin Tasso calls upon all players of the African aviation industry to collectively voice fast and effective implementation of the African air transport market.
Ethiopian Airlines calls upon all players of the African aviation industry to join hands and collectively voice for the fast and effective implementation of the African Union-backed initiatives such as the Single African Air Transport Market, SATM, and the African Continental Free Trade Area. Since these initiatives are meant to play a paramount role in enhancing people-to-people and economic ties among African nations and support the growth of the aviation industry in the continent, we have to urge African governments to work towards their fullest implementation.
Meanwhile, Willie Walsh, IATA's Director General, for his part, urged African countries for full implementation of Single Africa Air Transport Market across Africa to generate close to 600,000 jobs and over 3.9 billion USD in GDP in Africa.
23 countries signed a memorandum of implementation, but none, unfortunately, have ratified this. You have nothing to fear from doing this. Full implementation of SATAM across the continent has the potential to generate nearly 600,000 jobs and over 3.9 billion US dollars in GDP. In Ethiopia alone, we believe it could support an additional 21,000 jobs and contribute over 80 million US dollars to GDP.
State Minister of Transport and Logistics, Denge Boru, for his part indicated that the government of Ethiopia will continue to play its role by taking the initiative endorsed by the African Union towards the implementation of Single Africa Air Transport Market.
The growth that we strive to achieve requires a shift to advance modernization and simplicity in service across the value chain. And all the changes we aspire to witness need to be eased and backed with the necessary policy amendments and safety measures. The government of Ethiopia is committed to take part in initiatives that African Union advocates to ease movement of people and liberalize traffic rights.
ሬንጀርሶች ትልቅ የሥራ ኃላፊነት በዚህ መስክ ውስጥ ካሉት አካላት ትልቅ የሥራ ኃላፊነት ከተሰጣቸው መካከል አንዱ ናቸው።
በኢፌድሪ ደንና አካባቢን አየር ንብረት ለውጥ ኮሚሽን ኮሚሽነር ፕሮፌሰር ፍቃዱ በየነ ህብረተሰብ በል ብረት አታ በና
Welcome back. You're still watching at this news hour. Moving to another development. Over 100,000 Africans are facing health complications related with food safety and post-harvest loss in the continent per annum. To alleviate this challenge, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, adopted food safety and post-harvest loss management strategy in the region. This came here today at the launching of a two-day high-level ministerial meeting to validate and endorse the IGAD regional food safety strategy and harvest loss strategy. Our staff reporter Habtam Shagri has attended the event and compiled the following story. Take a look.
A research conducted by Food and Agriculture Organization states that over 137,000 Africans are estimated to die per annum in connection with food safety and post-harvest loss in the continent. To alleviate this problem, IGAD member states adopted food safety and post-harvest loss strategy after discussing the problem in Addis Ababa. Talking to TV English, Project Manager Environment Protection at IGAD, Ishete Dejen said IGAD has identified problems that affect the lives of Africans in the region.
First, we assess what is the status of food production in IGAD region. In 2021, we identified two critical issues. One is post-harvest loss. The second one is food safety. For post-harvest loss, in August 2021, we developed a strategy, regional framework that will tackle the challenge of post-harvest loss. Then, today, after assessment of what are the challenges of food safety, we adopt regional strategy on food safety to boost regional integration.
After discussing with IGAD member states in Addis Ababa, Ishete remarked that IGAD adopted food safety and post-harvest loss strategy so as to alleviate the exacerbating problem in the region. Irgalem Baraki, who is Food Security Officer at FAO Sub-Regional Officer for Eastern Africa, for his part said food safety and post-harvest loss is affecting the lives of Africans.
Post-harvest losses in our region is very high. In terms of the statistics with regard to post-harvest losses in our region, some research were done by FAO and other institutions who are involved in the research activity. And based on the recent data, for instance, in 2018 alone, post-harvest grain loss in IGAD region amounted to approximately 4.1 million metric tons. When we converted to monetary terms, it's valued at over $1.3 billion.
Irgalem underlined that cooperation, using appropriate technology, adopting knowledge, among others, are an instrument to curb the existing problems in IGAD region.
Handling or trying to tackle the post-harvest losses, it needs really coordination because it's a multi-sector approach is very important. It's not the responsibility of one sector or the responsibility of only one discipline. We need to work together. There are various actors, agriculture, trade, finance, and all these need to be coordinated. The first thing with regard to post-harvest loss management is the post-harvest loss management starts from the field. It's not just after harvest. So we need to start from the harvest. We need to use appropriate technology. We need to apply science. We need to best practices which have been applied in our countries and other regions like Latin America. They have very good experience in that regard. We need to bring some of the best technologies outside our region, and we need to adopt. We need to adopt to our situation.
The research conducted by FAO is showing that further efforts are needed to minimize the existing food safety and post-harvest loss problem in the continent.
Meanwhile, IGAD member states expressed readiness to work cooperatively to alleviate the existing food safety and post-harvest loss problems in the region. Talking to ETV English, representative of IGAD member states appreciated the wheat productivity exhibited by Ethiopia as an exemplary effort IGAD member states as well as to the other African countries. In 2018, post-harvest grain losses in the IGAD region amounted to approximately 4.1 million metric tons, valued at over 1.3 billion USD. Their views and opinions have been compiled. Have a look.
We hope that all the partners of IGAD will work collectively in terms of make this strategy live.
All the IGAD countries focus on that. We develop strategies that in the last 2 days that we have been working on those, which is going to help our region to protect our productions and also to increase the production, because we are not going to lose a lot in terms of losses during the post-harvest management or during the storage. So it is important that we focus on those strategies, and it's going to help the region and even the whole African continent, because if the region becomes more productive, it will also go to the other regions that we will be able to send the surplus that we have to those countries, so that they can just also benefit from that one and this contribute to the food security in our region or in the whole continent.
We have done a lot, but remains a lot. We have done some steps. We took some bold steps in terms of developing some key policies and strategies relevant to the food safety and post-harvest loss. And with the guideline of the IGAD, a lot are in the pipelines when it comes to the policies, but also in the institutional capacity building when it comes to the installation of operational laboratories and also inspector services in the Somalia.
As you know, that Ethiopia is a dear neighbor of Sudan, and Ethiopia now is making a very progressive economic progress, especially in terms of agriculture, and that is going to help a lot the neighboring countries, including Sudan, to get benefits. I hope that in near future, the cooperation in terms of agriculture is going to be more effective between Sudan and Ethiopia. Especially, we have a lot of agreements, bilateral agreements between Sudan and Ethiopia in terms of agriculture and other sectors.
So we are now in the right track, but at the beginning of the path, not even in the middle, but we are gaining the experiences of regions, IGAD member states, leading one of the leading IGAD nations is Ethiopia.
In our business segment, UK's Minister of International Trade said London remains committed to support Ethiopia's fast-track accession to the WTO, given the current state of modernization of commerce and reform in the country. The remark came at the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding at the British Embassy in the capital Addis Ababa between UK's Ministry of International Trade and Ethiopia's Ministry of Trade and Regional Integration. Ethiopia hopes to transform its investment climate after joining the WTO and further improve regulations in a bid to attract more FDI. Kasaun Chane has compiled the full story.
Ethiopia has been making preparations to join the World Trade Organization WTO ever since it submitted its application 10 years ago. In January 2003, it turned in the accession application. Since then, it has successfully completed several of the fundamental conditions and talks needed to move up. When a nation joins the WTO, it commits to abiding by the organization's strict laws, regulations and procedures, as well as those of the other member nations. To this end, any nation that aspires to join the organization is required to modify its own trade laws,
rules and procedures in order to harmonize them with the established trade norms. Ethiopia is not an exception to this. In light of this, the UK's Minister for International Trade declares that his country is ready to support Ethiopia's fast entry into the WTO, given a country's current state of peace and security.
Financial support, but most importantly, it's the advice that we can give and help make the WTO accession happen. It's a long time coming, but Ethiopia is somewhat conspicuous by its absence from WTO at the moment. It's the largest country by population that isn't a WTO member, and also I think the third largest in terms of GDP. So we're very keen to make sure that Ethiopia can join, and we will be there standing shoulder to shoulder in making that happen. And then there's so many other areas as well where we can continue to build the relationship. As the security situation improves, as the economy develops, as the role of the private sector in the Ethiopian economy improves, there's a lot more opportunities for British investment as well. And we're seeking those opportunities, and we'll continue those conversations with the African Investment Summit next year, led by the UK, but also ongoing conversations.
Ethiopia's Minister for Trade and Regional Integration, Gabra Masqal Jala, also underscored that WTO accession would significantly contribute a more positive economic outlook for Ethiopia, and appreciated the government of the UK for air support for Ethiopia's WTO accession.
On behalf of the government of Ethiopia, let me pay a tribute to the government of United Kingdom for the technical and financial assistance, particularly on Ethiopia's WTO accession negotiation process. I am also very much delighted for the UK's assistance assignment. As the chair of Ethiopia's Working Party Group in Geneva, we are proud to continue our close collaboration. I recognize that this MOU is principally planned to support the Ethiopian government to the WTO accession negotiation as the government of Ethiopia, demonstrating its commitment to create a favorable investment climate by taking a series of economic reform measures.
On June 20, the UK announced new support for Ethiopia's bid to join the WTO. This is through a £450,000 program that will channel technical assistance directly to the chief negotiator of Ethiopia and his high-level delegation. The minister noted that Ethiopia is an excellent partner of the UK and that the assistance will help Matri to drive accession by assisting them to identify activities necessary to move accession forward, such as providing the technical works to complete accession, assisting key meetings with interlocutors, including the WTO Secretariat, and ensuring strong visibility of the WTO accession process at senior levels of the Ethiopian government.
Well, I would say the key thing is WTO accession would be a huge step forward in Ethiopia's role playing on the world stage in international trade. It's a very large country at the moment. It's the largest country by population not to be a member of WTO, and it's the third largest country by economic activity not to be a member.
It is noted that this year marked the 20th anniversary of the beginning of Ethiopia's WTO accession process, but negotiations only meaningfully restarted in 2019 as part of PM Abiy Ahmed's homegrown economic reform agenda. Despite positive intentions, however, 2 years have been lost due to conflict, COVID, and drought.
Finally, in our African updates, Sudan rejects Africa mediation efforts, saying language round talks is incorrect. A delegation headed by several Horn of Africa leaders has reached a round block in its mediation efforts to stop the fighting in Sudan. The Sudanese Foreign Ministry rejected the proposal made by 8 African nations, saying the language surrounding the talks is incorrect. The government in Khartoum says describing the conflict as a fight between 2 generals is a false narrative. It sees the conflict as a battle between National Army and a group rebelling against it. And now recap of the top stories once again. The Premier says supporting health sector with technology is essential to respond on epidemic. And Sudan rejects Africa mediation efforts. You've been watching at this news hour with the Nusa Binyam Gatana along with the technical staff. Goodbye from me. Have a pleasant and peaceful time.